So The Bike Riders is a movie that I have been really looking forward to. It wasn't on my most anticipated movies of the year, but it has a really strong cast. You have Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, Tom Hardy, Michael Shannon, Boyd Holbrook, Norman Reedus, and many others, and it's told through the perspective of Jodie Comer's Kathy. This is her telling us how she fell in love with Butler's Benny and giving us the highs and lows of their relationship.
You can't have him.
If he wants to ride a bike, he'll ride a bike.
The movie is directed by Jeff Fowler, who directed Midnight Special, and I think he is kind of the driving force as to why I was kind of looking forward to this movie. He left A Quiet Place day one for this movie, so if he left that project for this movie, then you know that he's going to bring something special to this project. And I came out liking this movie when I should have came out loving this movie. The pieces were there for me to come out loving this movie and probably making it into my top 10 films of the year, but it never reached those heights for me personally, even though this movie is really held together by the performances of the cast. The relationship between Comer and Butler is there whenever we have it, and I really love seeing the progression of the relationship. I love seeing how it started off by her not wanting to be around these bikers because really most of them are just kind of harassing her, just catcalling her. That is until she locks eyes with Butler and she rides on his motorcycle, and now she is really opened to this new world. And seeing the progression really evolved from seeing how it just started out as something that she was not really looking forward to just really feeling the vibe between these two. That is what really makes this movie, and really the performances all together. Even though the movie is fine, it's enjoyable to watch. I think it's beautifully directed. I think Jeff Nichols' heart was in the right place for this project. It just missed a little bit more for me to chew on. Not only are you gravitated towards the relationship between Butler and Comer, but you're also gravitated towards the brotherhood between these guys. The relationship between everybody and the camaraderie that you bring. Jeff Nichols really did build up this world. You just really want to be able to hang out with these guys. You get to know their code of honor, where if you need bail money or if you're in some kind of trouble, then they're going to have your back. But unless you're going to go back to your ex that you've been broken up with 5 times, that is where they don't put up with a lot of their BS. So having that in here works, and I think that is the highlight of this movie. The issue for me, and this is a me issue, some people will not have an issue with this movie. I think it'll work more for some people. But for me, I'm not the biggest fan of non-linear storytelling. I don't like it when we're going back and forth between stories. I like my stories to progress forward. And what this movie does is you're getting interviewed by Jodie Comer's character in here by Mike Feist, who we just saw in Challengers. And so we're bouncing back and forth between what's happening in the present time with Comer getting interviewed about her relationship with Butler and his relationship with the biker gang. And then we're going back in time to seeing everything unfold. And for me personally, I'm not the biggest fan of that kind of storytelling. It works in some movies. In here, it really didn't work for me as much as it could have. I think if we had that in the setup in the first 5-10 minutes, trying to just get us off the runway and get into the movie, I think it would have worked better, and then we could have revisited that side within the last like 5 to 10 minutes of this movie. But we're constantly going back and forth, and I was really more gravitated seeing the progression flow naturally. I wish we didn't go back and forth because that is where it kind of left me wanting a little bit more. Plus, when you have these biker gangs, the movie kind of felt safe to me. It didn't feel like they were doing enough in order for me to really get fully invested. Even though I enjoyed the brotherhood and the camaraderie, they really don't do much with them. They're basically just talking for 2 hours, and this movie is wonderfully paced. There's not really a dull moment in here. You're just kind of slowly losing interest, and You kind of don't want that in here. So whenever we're dealing with Hardy, Shannon, Holbrook, Ritas, and all of the other boys, that is where I was really loving this movie more. When we're going back to the interview, you could have cut some of that out. Then they toss this character in halfway through the movie, and for some strange reason, he just gets gravitated to this biker gang lifestyle, and you really don't know anything about this character besides the fact that he comes from what looks like an abusive home. And that's really the only thing you get out of this character. And he pops in here and there towards the last, towards the end of the second act, going into the third act. And you really don't have any connection to this character, so you really don't give a shit what happens to this character, whether he joins this gang, whether he doesn't. They just didn't do much enough for me to really care. And if you had plucked him out of this movie, the movie wouldn't have changed one bit. It would have been the exact same movie, just a little bit more shorter, a little bit more tighter. I really love hanging out with these guys. You really get sucked into this world, and you really want to be able to hang out a lot more with these guys. But I just feel like they didn't really go the extra mile in order for me to pinpoint a scene that stuck out to me. I think there are moments where you could have done a little bit more of that, but it just felt like they were playing it a little safe. There are moments here where they almost go that extra mile, but then something happens and it just never reaches those heights where there's not that one moment where something shocking happens and then it just sticks with you to the end of the movie. But overall, even though I enjoyed this movie for what this movie was and what it was trying to do, the performances are worth the price of admission. I just needed a little bit more from this movie in order for me to come out really loving it and really having a strong recommendation for this movie. But overall, I'm going to go ahead and give the Bikeriders a 6.5 out of 10. But those are my thoughts on the Bikeriders. Have you guys checked it out, or are you planning on checking it out just so you can see the Nosferatu trailer? Go ahead and drop thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys for the next video.